you can begin. We're ready now. Go ahead.
All
Welcome.
right, everyone. Welcome to this introduction to the film documentary project, which is going to be about urban youth entrepreneurs, specifically about Kiki-Fur's Entrepreneurial Academy K-12 private school in Rockford, Illinois. I have here the founder, Brother Henry McDavid, here, and we're going to talk to, he's going to tell us a lot more about it. We'll be starting filming it in a few days. We're going to start until the filming will finish until there's an event that the school is doing where the students will present their projects on entrepreneurship. So maybe I think before I start, I start introducing the project. I'd like to show just a 2-minute video that was on the news about the school. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay. Desktop. Yeah, I have so many windows. All right, let me see here. Where is it that you just do the whole desktop? Okay, let's just do the whole desktop. Okay. All right, here we go.
Global Academy is inspiring kids to dream big.
If you could pause it for a second, Sharam, and when you screen share again, stop it for a second, hit share computer audio. That way we'll be able to hear it more clearly.
Oh, okay.
Hit share screen, and then at the bottom left, you'll have the ability to click a box that says share sound. Thank you.
A local academy is inspiring kids to dream big and helping them by giving the tools to create future success. Ari Bruckman joins us now. Ari, you joined the owners on a tour of the new location, right?
Alexis, Kiki-Fur's Entrepreneurial Academy owners believe this school will help create a bright future for boys and girls in Rockford.
Being the only and the first Black-owned private school on the west side of Rockford that's recognized by the Illinois State Board of Education.
The Kiki-Fur Entrepreneurial Academy held a celebration at their new home on Taylor Street in Rockford. The academy is located in a new building that's estimated to be over $1 million. Co-owner Henry McDavid tells me accomplishing this is part of a larger plan.
Can you just imagine what it would look like when the dope dealer comes to the young child in the street with the offer of doing something illegal, and the child says, I don't need your money, I got my own business. I have my own book, I'm on tour. That is the goal that we are shooting for, is to reroute the community.
The academy is a private school for students K through 12. Every student is required to start a small business that generates revenue and publish a minimum of 1 book a year. 11-year-old Samaya McDavid is publishing her first book.
My book is about a detective named Detective Maya, and she's searching for a missing book, but it's a special book because the text is written in gold and diamonds.
As a result of creating an environment focused on entrepreneurship, Henry says the academy expects to produce their first 6-figure earner in the next year.
You gotta shoot for the sky, you gotta dream big. One of the things we have our students do is watch other 13-year-old millionaires to see this is how it looks and this is what you can become if you stay on this path.
For a link to enroll your son or daughter, find this article on mystateline.com. Alexis?
All right. Good. Yeah, so Yeah, this school has been around for 5 years. The reason I got interested in this project as a filmmaker. Hello? Oh, wait a minute. My video still
Yes, no, we see you
going.
and we can hear you.
Sorry about
It was
that.
very good. Thank you.
Oh, am I muted?
No,
Okay.
no, we hear you. We hear you. All good.
All right. So, yeah, so the reason I got interested in this project was I've been studying about economic justice, and I realized that, that sense of ownership and ownership of capital is really what's going to liberate our, just people in general, but especially the youth. And so I was looking for youth entrepreneurs, especially in the urban area where there's a lot of, difficulties, and how they can break out of it. I really felt entrepreneurship is the way. So then I was looking for youth entrepreneurship, but finally I found this school in, as I said, Rockford, Illinois. It's an hour and a half from here. And so we'll be visiting that school, and they're all preparing for an event on January 11th, where the different entrepreneurs of the different students as entrepreneurs will be vending their products. And they call that the studentpreneur like event. And again, I'll let Brother Henry, the principal and founder of the school, to explain more about it, the actual, how the school works and everything. But mainly is the whole idea is that their school is the reason I picked it, because I realize that this is very unique school. And there's just I've never seen anything like it. And it's totally funded and it started at least, most of the funding really has been from just people that are just encouraging people to help the youth be more, have an entrepreneurial mind. But mostly this couple, Brother Henry and his wife, Kishinda, has basically, they were entrepreneurs themselves, and they had a successful business, and then they expanded into this, and because they felt they just don't want to be just entrepreneur, they want to be they want to have an impact on their community, and also they want children not just to grow and get a degree and just have their own private life. They wanted to raise children, including their own, that to have a community mindset as entrepreneurs, that not only they want to just be successful for themselves, but they have that mindset to give to the community and help others also become entrepreneurs, and basically not just be dependent on wages, and just only one source of income and just wages, but be much more diverse. So anyhow, I'll give it now to Brother Henry to explain a little more about this, the school which we're going to film. Go ahead, Brother Henry.
Thank you for that very warm introduction. I definitely am appreciative, and it's an honor to be here with you all tonight to talk about our school. It's very warming to have people's ears and minds and hearts to talk about something that we love. So I'm just thankful to be here with you all tonight. So as was said, this is our Peak First Entrepreneurial Academy. This is our 5th year in existence. As you heard in the news clip, and as mentioned previously, the basis of our school is that every student who attends has to start a small business that generates revenue from kindergarten all the way up to high school. Additionally, every student is required to publish a minimum of 1 book a year, in which now our students are realizing how easy it is to write books. So they're doing more than 1 book a year, but they're required to do a minimum of 1 book a year. Then additionally, on the academic side, we have a very high standard academics as well. So 94 to 100 is an A, 88 to 93 is a B. If it's below 88, we have to have a conversation because that means you don't really understand what you're doing. And so for us, the project started off, my daughter, well, I have 2 daughters, biological daughter and an adopted daughter. My biological daughter tests into the top 2% of students in the country. And people always would ask us growing up, as she was growing up, I should say, well, what are you doing with your child? And, can you help us? So I used to mentor a lot of people's children. And we realized, though, that the #1 key that we did with our child that anybody can do with any child is just time. It's just the time that you put into them and teaching them systems. And so we wanted to, long story short, without going the long route, we wanted to create a system where you could pour into children and get a conveyor belt type of outcome every time. I mean, if you pour into children this way, if you teach them this way, if you give them these opportunities, if you create this environment, sooner or later, the environment will help to create the product that you're looking for. So that's it. Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, also has another book called, I think it's called Conversation with the Devil. And in that book, very interesting, especially if you get the YouTube version of the book where it's like acted out, he talks about what a school would look like if the school was created to actually educate children. And so we kind of modeled around what Napoleon Hill said. Teach children financial literacy, teach children about saving, teach children about real estate, teach children about digital marketing, and give them more opportunities than what most of us probably were given in school of what we could be, and broaden their horizons. Don't just teach within the 4 walls. Let them see the whole world. Let them see successful people all over, rather than just what most of us are streamlined to in school. So that's kind of the basis of our school. High academics. We're very, in Illinois, statistically speaking, Illinois has one of the worst public school systems overall. And where we're at in Rockford, according to Forbes magazine, actually has the 3rd worst educational system in the country. So as we went to a website called IllinoisReportCard.com, which is the compilation of all the school report cards in the state of Illinois, that's compiled by the Illinois State Board of Education, as we started to look at the numbers, we started to understand how bad the situation was, where you have hundreds of schools. I believe that the number was 900 something schools, where by the time you get to high school, children are still unable to read past the 3rd or 4th grade level. So there was a serious need for doing something where children could become literate, even if it's just to the grade level, because most children weren't. And so publishing books became a thing, because as children get excited about publishing books, they're also going through a process now of falling in love with reading, falling in love with etymology, falling in love with learning words, falling in love with being able to speak and articulate themselves. And so that idea for publishing a book and starting a business was born out of that. And at this point now, in year 5, we have a virtual school. So we have students in California, we have students in Texas, we have students in the Carolinas, we've had students in Detroit, Michigan. We've had students from around the country. In September of 2024, our school in Atlanta will open. So right now we're doing training with teachers and staff. We're getting students, so we're expanding. And the idea is to take this school and put this school in neighborhoods where the crime is high, the poverty is high, drug use and abuse is high. And our goal is to lower crime. Our goal is to, even if we can't get rid of crime completely, we understand, but our goal is to create opportunities that would diminish the need for crime, that would diminish the need for drug use and abuse, that would teach morals, that would teach ethics, that would give people a sense of pride through ownership. So in a nutshell, that's Pekin First Academy. I tried to make it very short and sweet and concise. Otherwise, I'd be here for 10 hours telling you about the school. And yeah, that's it. So if there's any questions, I'm definitely can answer any questions, but that's the school in a nutshell.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. That was to the point, concise, and really encouraging. So is Sister Krishanda over there, or is she? I'm sure she's super busy.
Sister Kishanda is with my daughter in Tennessee. She may get on, she may
Okay.
not. My daughter has a cheer competition, so they flew to Tennessee yesterday to beat the storm. So I'm not sure if she'll be on or not. She may or may not. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'm snowed in, so I'm here.
Great, that's awesome. I have a question. Yeah, very
Yes.
inspiring. So, given your success rate, why are the other public schools not doing what you're doing? Because seems pretty remarkable. You know, the fact that so many of our public schools are totally not able to even teach kids the basic facts. I think the whole city of Baltimore, you may know this, there's
Yep.
not a single student in the whole city of Baltimore school system that reads at grade level. Not one student. I mean, goodness gracious, you can't find one kid. So what are you doing that is right and very inspiring that, in your opinion, the other schools are not doing?
Well, public schools are at a disadvantage due to how the curriculum is set up. And it's not, public school doesn't necessarily offer a lot of creativity for the children. So we found, number one, allowing the children to express themselves at any given time without like blowback. So we find in a lot of public schools, you'll see like students fighting teachers and fights amongst the students, and just that environment in and of itself is toxic. So one of the things that's important that we did and is create an environment that's loving. So we call it village mentality. We actually borrowed it from Loyola University. It's called I do, you do, we do. And basically it means from the top down, it means that if you are a first grader, but a kindergartner needs help and you have the ability to teach that kindergartner, then the first grader is responsible to help the kindergartner. So then it gives everybody a sense of duty, and it gives everybody a sense of love and compassion because you're responsible for your peers as well. So we have reading partners, you know, you read to your partner. You don't, if one of your classmates can't read something, you don't laugh, you help them. And so we push this culture, and the culture in and of itself helps to create the environment, and the culture helps to foster education. Because at our school, we don't have fights. We don't have, we told our students, if you want to fight, then you're gonna have to go in a big circle in the class, in the middle of the school, in front of everybody. You got to fight everybody. And if you can't fight everybody, you can't fight anybody. So everybody said, okay, well, we can't fight everybody, so we're not gonna fight anybody. So we haven't had any fights at our school, and it's pretty respectable. We also demand parent involvement. So if something does happen, we don't let it get out of hand. We'll talk to the parents right there on the spot. And the way our school is set up, part of what makes the environment so healthy, unlike public school, we tell parents, we encourage parents actually, you don't need to call in advance to set up a time to come into the school. The school it's a village mentality. It's an open door policy. Anytime you want to come in, just come. Because the teacher should be just as accountable as the students. So you don't need to give the teacher a heads up so a teacher can act differently when you're present. Just pop in. See, observe how the teachers are teaching your students. Observe how your child is acting in class. Become one. We require village hours from the parents, so the parents have to become part of that village. They have to participate. They have to, when we do events, or come in and read to students, or come in and tutor a student for an hour, or help the tutors, or help serve lunch. Find some way to be part of the community, so that we found that the more people have ownership, that the more they'll buy into something. If they don't feel ownership of it, they don't feel like it's theirs, then they'll disrespect it. But if they feel like it's theirs and they have pride in it being theirs, then they'll treat it differently. So we've created a culture that makes the student, the teachers, the staff, the parents, the community members feel like they have vested interest in it.
Well, that's fantastic.
That's that sense of ownership. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the whole idea is that also they don't have a strict wall between grades. Isn't it true?
Yes.
I think
So
that's another reason that this can happen where one can help the other because they're all in the same room almost, the same, like, yeah, go ahead, explain that.
yeah, so we separate them more so almost on an age base versus necessarily grade. Because so we may have students in the same classroom because each student has their own independent customized curriculum. So there may be one student, and part of the failure, I think, of public school is that we push students through based on their age to a grade. But you can have a student that may be reading at 5th grade level, but doing science on a 4th grade level, but understanding history on a 3rd grade level. Well, if you push that child through, then the moment that child gets confused and that foundation is ruined, they're never going to learn going forward. And so we always work on the foundation and then bring them forward. So in our school, children have the ability to not only, because most children who come to us from public schools are on average 3 to 4 grades behind, but children who come to our school have the ability to not only catch up because we cover those foundational principles in the curriculum, they also have the chance to advance. So many of our students, for example, we have a little girl in California, age-wise, she should be in the 3rd grade. Academically, she's doing 6th grade work. My daughter, age-wise, should be in the 8th grade. She just finished her freshman year of work. Most of her work is sophomore and some of her work is junior level. And so she's already collected her freshman credits. She's starting to collect her sophomore credits, and she's already collected 1 sophomore credit that now she's getting her junior credits. And so our students, it's not like public school where you complete the 3rd grade and then you're done and you come back the next year and you're in 4th grade. The moment you pass one, we roll you right into the next. And additionally, we're year round. And part of that is we got from Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant talked about the Mamba mentality, and he talked about going to the gym for an extra hour or 2 a day versus his competitors. So we believe that the reason we're year round, if our students are in school throughout the summer, if our students, we take breaks, but not as long, right? An average school, you have 3 months off for the summer. Then the first 2 months that you come back to school is just review of everything you learned from the year before. So ultimately that's 5 months of wasted time that children could be learning going forward. So we decided to keep the students going forward so they gain those 5 months. So our students now, over a span of 4 years, they're 20 months ahead of where their peers would be. And so even if they run into a difficulty, they can slow down and take their time. So my daughter, she's finishing algebra, and it got really difficult for her for the first time in her life, but she was able to slow down, work with the tutor, work with the teacher, and understand it and get it because she's so far ahead already. And so that's what we offer. That's part of that solution as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's really revolutionary. And yeah, and basically, and then of course, like your sister Kishana, she was explaining about that you've got the core, what's required by the state. So basically, how do you fulfill that, the core requirement by the state of Illinois for the students to pass? Because you have another category of curriculum, which is particularly yours, which is entrepreneurial studies, work, and publishing work, and basically you call them electives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you can talk about like how you fulfill that while you try to give more time to the what you're really specializing in, which is entrepreneurial.
Okay, definitely. So the basis of the school, of course, your Common Core education. If you go to the Illinois State Board of Education website, they have the standards for each grade, what children should be learning at each grade. And so part of becoming registered and recognized with Illinois State Board of Education is getting the training to understand what students should know for each grade going forward. What do students need to graduate high school? How many credits do they need? What classes do they need? And so there's a rubric that You can look at the rubric. One rubric is just for graduation. Another rubric is if a student wants to go to college, if they're college bound. So you start learning, okay, this is what we can talk to our students in 8th grade, or if they transfer to us in high school, and say, there's 2 paths and before you, which path do you want to take? The college path, or are you trying to just graduate, maybe go to junior college and you'll figure it out, you're not quite sure. Once we have their path, then according to the rubric that the state of Illinois gives us, then we can adjust for that. As far as the elective goes, one of the cool things that we found is I know that I don't have, I know that I can't teach what I don't know. And so we are very big on networking. And so I kind of slowed it down a little bit, but we have a lot of guest speakers come in, right? We have millionaires come in that have made $1 million in real estate, or millionaire speakers come in that are authors, or millionaire speakers come in that are a plethora of different things. Or we also have, on the flip side, people who just started a business 6 months ago or a year ago. So our students can see the path and the journey, that no, it's not as easy as somebody may make it look if they're already highly successful. There's a difficulty factor. So we put a lot of time into entrepreneurship because we are looking to see, a child in the 5th grade may not know what they want to do. So we test a lot of things for that child, so that child can test things. So for example, I had a student, we had a guest speaker, A. Donahue Baker, who owns a bank called Money Ave Bank. And the student said, I've never seen a Black man own a bank. So I didn't know it was possible. And so just the idea that you didn't know you could own a bank, well, what could that child's future look like now when it comes to accounting, when it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to learning about money, when it comes to learning about investing? Because now the idea is, if I learn these things, this can put me on the path to learning a bank. And so, to owning a bank. So we're always we're always searching for ways to prick the child's mind and give them ideas. A lot of our children have been on podcasts across the country. They've been in TV commercials. We've done strategic partnerships with other businesses. One of the ones they really like is there's a Tilted Tin in the mall out here, and we have a relationship with them. So we do a commercial with them, and our children get to run around, and then they give our children, $100, whatever, to go play all the arcades and bumper cars and bowling and mini golf and all that stuff that's at the arcade. But then our children get to be in the commercial, so they get to tell the people they're in the commercial. They get to advertise, with their clothing, whatever they have. And they're also learning, about what it takes to run an actual arcade. So because children love video games, they're looking like, okay, this is actual business. So now, instead of parents yelling at their children, telling them, get off the video games and go do something, go read a book, we're encouraging children. If you're going to be in that field, there's money there and there's business there. So you can still play the game. But what if you could get paid to play the game? What if you could get paid to let other people play the game? What if you could turn your love of video games into a business? So we're always trying to find creative ways with the electives, especially entrepreneurship and authorship. And like I said, we bring a lot of people in. So we brought guest speakers in from across the country, in person and virtual. We brought big name people in and small name people in. We're always looking for guests to inspire the children and teach them something new. And I know I can't teach it. So that's where the village mentality comes in at, is I only know what I know, and it's not a lot. But I do know that if there's a lot of us, then there's a lot that we can do together. And that's how the electives work. We're actually redeveloping the curriculum as we expand into different cities to make sure all the students in the different cities are getting the same thing at the same time. So that's one of the goals we're working on now. But it's been pretty consistent guest speakers, and then they learn the key words, they learn what is credit, they learn what is real estate, they learn, what's an asset, what's a liability, what is an LLC, what is an INC, how does an S Corp work, how does a C Corp work? They learn the basics of entrepreneurship, what is a strategic partnership. They learn these basics, and then at the same time they apply them. And then right now, our students are doing product creation. So they're manufacturing products, they're doing the marketing, they're creating the formula, putting the product together, and then based on their marketing, they can go do sales. And we're showing them how we were able to do it, to get into different stores, different trade shows, different pop-up shops, different places they can sell them. And also their books as well, they can sell to schools, homeschool networks, other educators, because there's curriculum in the back of their books. So we're trying to create an environment that says, whatever you want to be, let's figure out how you can do it. Let's not say that, let's not use the word can't. Let's try to figure out how you can be what you want to be. And that's what the electives basically are geared towards.
Right. Yeah,
One of
exactly.
the questions in the chat is, how do you incorporate relationships with beings beyond human, trees and other plants, animals, winged ones, waters, etc.?
Well, we definitely, one of the basis of the school culturally is that at the root of everything is love, right? Like, love your environment. So here's an experiment that I actually borrowed this experiment. I can't say I created it, but I borrowed this experiment. There's 2 experiments that we did in school. One, we did the water experiment. So there's an experiment where you can literally put water in a jar and talk to water positively, and you can talk to water negatively. And after like 6 months, you can see the effect on the water. The water that you talk to positively looks different than the water you talk to negatively. And for the students, I said, well, if this happens to water, what's 70% of your body made out of? They're like, oh, blood, that's water. Says, so when you take in more positive things, you have a more positive outcome. When you take in the negative things, there's a physical reality that happens, and there's a physical reality that happens on the positive and negative side. And now the students have touched it because they've actually seen the experiment. So we're very environmental friendly. One of the things about ownership is you'll notice that when people own things, they take care of them. So I asked the students, I said, do you notice the difference in neighborhoods when you travel across any city, from Chicago to Houston to Rockford, where we're at, to Atlanta? Said, what you consider good neighborhoods, I said, if you have a bag of chips and you're eating the chips, if you're in a bad neighborhood where nobody owns anything, what do you typically do when you finish the chips? The students say, just throw the bag on the ground. I said, but if you're in a neighborhood where the houses are owned, the lawns are trimmed, everything's taken care of, and it looks good, what do you typically do? Say, well, we'll put the bag of chips in our pocket. Say, well, that's because ownership, when people see ownership, they respect ownership. And so as you teach ownership, it goes deeper than just owning an actual property or an asset. It actually goes to the value of how you value human life. How do you value somebody who looks like you? How do you value somebody that doesn't look like you? How do you value a culture that is your culture? How do you value other cultures? How do you value the big picture? Because we live in a world where there is diversity everywhere. So how do you deal with that from an aspect of love? And then also the last part is with our teachers, one of the secret hiring formulas that we do with teachers that we want to hear in every interview is, where is your level of love for the population that you're serving? Because if you don't love the population you're serving, you're not going to give them 100%. But if you love them, you'll give them 110%, 110% of the time. So hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, definitely.
What was
Yeah.
the other experiment? You said 2 experiments with water. Did you have another one?
The potato chip experiment was the second one. The potato chip experiment and the water experiment. And that goes to, I mean, we don't have a lot of animals per se, but like my daughter, for example, who has her cat, on certain days when they bring their animals and stuff in and their pets in for like show and tell, on those days, then it's, then they get to talk about the love of their friend. And one of the writing prompts that our students had was to discuss our connection with nature and how does nature benefit us? How do we benefit nature? And having a healthy respect for nature. So that's inbred into the everyday culture of the school.
Yeah, so in other words, this school is because they're not so focused on kind of like assembly line, like most schools are preparing people for basically corporate jobs, or and it's made so that you fit into the system. Colleges, not that colleges are bad. If somebody wants to go to college, of course, they will encourage the students, but they still let the student decide where is their trajectory, where is their path, and they don't dictate to them. That's the difference. It's always about it's really about letting them initiate or a vision for themselves, and more let them make that decision. And then they take it from there. So over there, Brother Henry was saying, we don't call the teachers teachers. I don't know what you call them, but something, you know, they're like something like a facilitator, right? They're like, yes, a mentor, tutors. I think they call them these type of names. So in other words, nobody, it's not like the teachers, it's not like, okay, there's a little clip. Let me show you this little clip. This is really interesting about one of the students. It's this, come on, oh, okay, okay. Let me. Yeah, this is very interesting.
As an entrepreneur, as somebody that wants to.
Public school teachers would say, if they're wrong, you can never check them. It's always, I'm right, and that's the final word. It's the reason why I love both of those classes, especially Black history. I always am the person to debate Uncle Henry about something. I always, even if he gives us an answer, I'm always the person who tells him, are you sure? Because blah, 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 blah. And then he gives me a response, and we'll sit there back and forth. And then Taj comes in, and it's just like this big thing. And I love the fact that I can actually question him and see if he knows what he's talking about. And he can question me back to see if I actually know what I'm talking about, or if I'm just trying to be cool, per se.
Yeah, so that kind of shows what I'm trying to say. Yeah, yeah, go ahead if you want to talk about that, you know, like how you let the students challenge the adults in a sense. It's a two-way relationship.
Absolutely. Well, our a part of our philosophy, we're not trying to dictate to the students how they should think. We only want the students to use critical thinking when they think. So we have this thing that we do as an example, where we discuss Santa Claus. And it's not to say for them, like at this age, for my class at least, they understand Santa Claus isn't real by this point. But we discussed the science of Santa Claus. And they have to use science and math to prove why Santa Claus couldn't exist. So they come up with these formulas where, okay, well, there's this many children in the United States spread out through this many miles. He'd have to deliver this many presents per second in order to reach all the children just in the US. So in order for his reindeer to do that, he'd have to be able to zap in and out. What if they don't have roofs on their housetop? What if somebody lives, what if somebody lives in a house that's an apartment building? How does he get into the apartment and get out? Like all these scientific things, what's the weight of the sleigh? I think one of the students came up with, they use naval boats, and they said, well, a naval boat weighs this much and it travels at this speed. His sleigh would have to weigh more than a naval boat. So if it weighed more than a naval boat, how could the reindeer be strong enough to lift the sleigh? And it's even though it sounds silly, it's them using critical thinking to arrive at a conclusion. And so we give them conversation, we give them things, we have dialogue and back and forth. And we're big on letting them debate it out, especially amongst themselves. We'll step in with even our opinion, but then say, whatever you believe, it's not about what you believe, it's about, can you defend what you believe? And so even though we don't have per se a debate team, we do have a trivia team, but it's about, can you defend what you say based on science, math, the things that you're learning in school? And so it's very heartwarming when you see children debating different things. And so they have different debates amongst each other all the time. And we allow them that freedom, because if you don't allow them that freedom, you don't really know, just because a child scores something on a test doesn't really tell you where that child is at with their thinking. A test score is going to be the same no matter however much they've studied or memorized, they're going to get that test score. But if you actually want to know how a child thinks, allow them to use critical thinking and open conversation, and then give them the floor. And so we do that with a lot of our electives and give them the floor. And you'd be surprised that a lot of times they come up with stuff that stumps the adults. We're like, oh, we got to go back and figure this out. So that's a unique perspective that we take with the children.
All right, Mama Jo had a comment. Go ahead. Is your unmute yourself, please? Yes,
Okay, great. Unmute. Okay, good evening, everybody. Great job, Henry.
Thank you.
And Shalom, congratulations. You know, I never knew that such a school was even in the mind of anyone to do, let alone find out that, you know, through Antonio, we were able to, I was able to find you, and Sharon was interested in an entrepreneur. But one of the things I connected, because I really, this is like Martin Luther King's weekend. And one of the profound things about the School of Kiefer is that it's a project or a part of the dream of Martin Luther King. It's part of his dream. And to me, one of the challenges that we do have of our melanated people is the fact that we don't have that kind of network to get the work that we do to ride above the propaganda and all of the other things that go on that drowns us out. So I want to think of the Compassion Games, company, conglomerate, because this is a real opportunity for us to take a look and see that the dream of Martin Luther King is actually taking place. And it's not something that we always have to go and create something to show how creative we are. We have many people doing that. But to actually see some bodies coming together, and as you say, going to the bottom with the root of the love that was in the heart of this man, to give us the courage to move against all kinds of forces, even our own doubts of our own self, and be able to put a diamond in a place that it just couldn't possibly be. And like Peter was saying, not one child in Baltimore is reading on the level. And tomorrow, your wife's going to be on my program tomorrow. And there's another gentleman, Peter. His name is Robert Renteria. And he too was a gangbanger and just gangbanger, dope dealer, went to prison and all kinds of things. And now he's come from the barrio to the back, to the boardroom. And what you're doing when you come from that kind of muck and mire, and he has a curriculum, the Chicago public school system even helped to put his book together to make a curriculum. But he can't put that curriculum in the Chicago public school system because of the fact that the schools are now, well, they always have been part of the business, but now they are atop and they are blocking anything and everything to keep things that's going to work and free the minds of the children, free the minds of the teachers, because the schools are now, with the exception of those students who really have a mindset to succeed, is really a path to the prison. Because if you can look at the correlation, and Peter said, not one child, no, that's something that I should say, what in the world is going on here? Because as they're not on reading level, they cannot communicate, they cannot effectuate, they can't really do much of anything in terms of expanding in this society. So violence comes and the prison cells start filling. It's not a disgrace. It's just, to me, it is what it is for those who can see it. And so I applaud you, but I also say that I feel that you are doing exactly what Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's dream was. And that is building the character of our children. And I'm so grateful for your being able to be with this group of people here and that they're opening up for you, because that is the challenge that we have. Not so much as creating projects, but getting what we do have that is good made known to others.
Absolutely.
So that you value. That's the American dream. That's the American dream.
I guess statistically, one of the things that we noticed here in Rockford was that you had a school system that Forbes said was the third worst public school system in the country. And we noticed that the district here was given an extra $100 million to fix the problem. So their budget was like $400 million. They were given an extra $100 million, but none of the number. And the thing was, it's not like, if we break it down by race, it's not like Black children are suffering in this city. All children are suffering. It's Black, it's white, it's Asian, it's Latino. None of the children are being educated. So it's not even like a thing where you can say, well, okay, maybe, you know, whatever, this population for this reason. If in our opinion, and I have a contact who contacts me from the school district here in Rockford every single day, just about. If you go to my messenger, you'll see contacts me every single day. And he's been pushing for the school district to work with us or partner with us in some way, just to help them with some of their children. And he's frustrated because he can't get the ear. But I pointed out to him that if I'm given an extra $100 million to fail, why would I want to succeed? It doesn't make sense if I'm being driven by money. See, if I'm being driven to educate the children, you could put me under a tree and I'm going to educate the children. It doesn't matter if I have the big fancy building, the bells and whistles. If my heart is to educate children, I'll educate children. But if my heart's to make money, then I'm going to go where the money goes. And so it doesn't matter how much money you throw at the problem. If you have a system and you have people that don't want to educate children, they're not going to do it. You have to actually go where people's hearts are to educate children, and the children will follow the hearts of the people. Children can recognize when people are phony. Children can recognize when people don't really care for them. Children can recognize when people are just there to collect a check. And children can tell when people are there and they genuinely love them and they genuinely care for them. Whether it's the hard lessons or the soft lessons. Case in point, and then I'll be quiet. I had a young girl who went to our school who struggled in math, and she refused to do math in school. So we called her grandmother, who she lived with, because she has some behavior issues. And we told her grandmother, listen, she didn't do her math in school, but we're not going to let her get out without doing math. Can she come home with us? The grandmother said she can come home with us. We said, fine. We brought her home, sat her at the table, said, finish your math. We'll call your grandmother to go home when you're done. She sat at our kitchen table till about 9:30 at night, but she got the math done. And her grandmother noted that from that point forward, she started doing her math in school because we told her we got nothing but time. If we have to do math every day until 9:30, then you'll just be in school from 8 a.m. till 9:30 every day because you don't want to do your math in school. And lo and behold, she started doing her math, but she didn't respond with spite, because a lot of times it's being portrayed that discipline is a negative thing, but discipline is what children need to be productive members of society when they get older. They may not understand as a child, but us as adults, we understand you have to have some discipline about yourself, or you'll find yourself in a situation where the absence of discipline will cost you more than you can afford to pay. And so in that situation, she came back and she apologized, and she was like, well, it's difficult, but I want to practice it. So she started doing math first when she got to school from that day forward. Math was her first class that she did every day, and she started working on her math. But those type of things, the extra mile to go, or the extra distance to go for a child, to let a child know, I care about you to the point where I'm not going to let you fail. Because in our school, we say that if a child fails, the teacher is the one who failed. Children can't fail, only teachers can fail. You can fail to educate them, but they can't fail to learn. It's you who failed to educate them. And so that philosophy is missing in a lot of schools because it's money-based and it's not really love-based. So.
Yes, you're right. That's a very good point. I have a video I'd like to show to close out the program, unless there's other questions, comments.
What video is that?
It's a Nemo Patel, We Shall Overcome
Oh, okay. It's just a general, you
music
mean,
video.
for
Yeah.
the compassion games. Yeah, okay.
Was
Good,
there
good.
any other
All
questions
right,
or comments? So we have a little more
yeah.
time left.
And show that, but that's not related to the Kickifers Academy, but still, it's a good video. It's related to the beloved community concept. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, it relates quite a bit to what we're discussing
Right,
tonight. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, the general, yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Brother Henry, and that was Mama Joy and Peter, and thanks for Compassion Games for giving us the fund so we can keep going with this documentary. And
Someone's hand is up.
oh, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, I mean, cause and Sylvia, she put a link in. I'd like for her to explain the link that she put into the chat.
That's why I unmuted. It's actually two links. One is about Carl Upchurch, and the second is about the book that he wrote. He was an important part of the Baptist Peace Fellowship of North America, and received degrees through Earlham College while being incarcerated in maximum security prison. And Convicted in the Womb is the story of his being a key player in negotiating a truce between the Crips and the Bloods. And I thought it might be a resource for, and his life story in general might be resources for this community.
What's his name?
It's the link in the chat. Carl Upchurch. CarlUpchurch.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. I'm also going to reference my background, which was the vows that I signed with Soul Force, based on the vows that Martin Luther King Jr. had his marchers sign. In my signing was in 2001. So, blessings and thank you, everyone, and especially Henry. Blessings on the work of your school, and I hope that you all commune with some trees and other nature beings.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sylvia. Awesome. Yeah, Brother Henry, yeah, we're on board. So Antonio's a good mentor of ours too. And so, yeah, we'll look forward to expanding your schools, because it's one of the most important, it's really the civil rights era of our time, isn't it? You know, the education of kids. And we'd love to have another session on this, because there's a lot to, whole school choice issue. Should parents be able to decide what school they go to, or should they be forced into school system? But I'm not going to open that can of worms, but that would be a great discussion for another time. Let me go ahead and show this video. It's We Shall Overcome, and Nemo Patel is one of our Compassion Games compatriots. And if you haven't listened to any of his music on YouTube, he's got some really phenomenal music videos that he has created. So let me go ahead and play that. Let me make sure we turned everything on. There we go.
If you turn off, if you pause it for a second and turn off optimize screen for sharing, it'll remove the black boxes that we see, Peter. There's black
Okay, how do-
boxes. You start again, stop the screen share, and then when you go to do it, deselect the box that says optimize for screen sharing. It sounds counter to what you think it would do, but for some reason it creates black boxes all over the image.
I don't see where that's at. Where's that?
When you go to hit share screen, you
Uh-huh.
click share sound, and then to the right of share sound, it says optimize for video clip. Deselect that one. You want sound checked, but the optimized for video clip needs to be deselected.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
It's burning inside, the hurting and the suffering minds, creating anger, fear, and pain, suffocating our times. The tougher it gets, the rougher social media cries. But we see to it that we tweeting only negative lines. We're sick and tired of history, but repeating it twice. Greed, anger, and violence clearly stealing our nights. Feeling it tight between the shoulders with a chill in the spine. Pinching myself, waking up, trying to stop the rewind and move forward towards stories overcoming our fears. Choosing love over hate, praying, trading hugs over tears. There's only one choice, breaking down the walls and repair every broken heart on this planet till there's no longer fear. Walls can't hold us in. Fear can't keep us down. Love will rise again. Yeah, it's rising right now. We shall overcome. Every time I think it's gonna take much longer, we shall overcome. Every time I question, am I getting stronger? We have just begun. Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther. We shall overcome. 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 Young Gandhi couldn't fathom how to deal with himself when he was thrown off the train and the pain that he felt. Mrs. Parks disrespected, dragged into jail because of the color of his skin, organs, tissues, and cells. One day, a young girl was shot on a bus by a man, a terrorist, part of the Taliban. He said, on this land, you have no right to stand for what you believe in. Girls have no chance here. Well, now, that's just the story of three souls who shook our planet after being down on their knees. And it's not gonna stop. Those seeds have now become trees, and as human beings, we'll keep on digging till we find peace. Yeah, the cynics always say that nothing ever changes. The human nature's bound to stay the same. But it couldn't be more plain that violence never pays, injustice never stays. It's bound to fade away. What if history awaits? What if today's the day? We already know the way, so let's all lead the way. We shall overcome. Every time I think it's gonna take much longer, we shall overcome. Every time I push them, I get stronger. We have just begun. Gonna make a change, we gotta push much farther. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Come on now. Longer. We shall overcome. Every time I question, am I getting stronger? We shall overcome. Make a change, we gotta push much farther. 'Cause I'm feeling it deep in my heart. Deep in my heart. I do believe. I do believe. I do believe. We shall together. Here we go. Woo! I knew it. God had a plan for us to do it. To hit rock bottom before we rise and continue. To first learn greed before we learn to be human. To do wrong deeds before we learn to spread beauty. There's always a plan, and now it's time to take a stand for the right of the planet, every woman and man. We ain't gonna stop, only growing our demands for all beings to feel peace in every heart and land. Thank you, Lord, for the strength and the courage to bring us together and keep our souls nourished. These tough times will only drown in our chorus, cause we all believe that the truth is before us. We shall overcome this pain. We shall overcome this day. We pray for love to lead the way.
Thank you.
Beautiful. That was beautiful. All right.
Let love lead the way.
Actually, had one other hand up there.
You got Erica.
How can we get that? I'd like to know.
My question, and thank you for allowing the time for this question, Peter. Brother Henry,
Yes, ma'am.
I love the work that you're doing and the school and the concept and thinking outside the box. But I'd like to hear more about you. Just a few minutes. What has taken you and your wife to this incredible mission and the work that you're doing?
Yes, ma'am. So, well, my wife will probably be on the next one. I'll try to cover some of her because we're really two kind of opposite people. But she's really the brains. I'm just the figurehead that you see here speaking. So I'm like her representative. So I guess where to start? I can say that we didn't necessarily think about doing a school. What I wanted to be in life didn't really exist when I graduated high school. All right, like I knew I wanted to do something. So when I wrote my first book, I had went back and looked at my life, and I had realized that I had been fired from about 25 jobs. And of those 25 jobs, there was like one job that I actually liked. So I was searching for something. And in the midst of doing that, I tried several different business ventures, but nothing that really stuck. All the business ventures I tried, I failed miserably because there was nobody in my community teaching entrepreneurship or showing me, hey, go read this book, go do this, go do that, try this, go to school here. Nobody was giving me that information. And so for about 10 years of my life, I kind of felt like I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So part and parcel in our school is, well, what if I can save students or younger people the 10 years it took me trying to figure something out? What if I could cut that 10 years out and bring them straight to the point of where now they have an idea of what they want to do and they know what they want to pursue? That decade of time makes a whole difference. We know life is short. So if I can get students an extra decade of life where they don't have to necessarily struggle and they have skill sets. And the thing is, it's not even for us just about entrepreneurship. In my opinion, from owning businesses, the best employees are entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs because they respect the business. They understand what it takes to run a business. So they understand about being on time. They understand about customer service. They understand all these things. So for me, those 25 jobs that I got fired from really was the foundation of the driving force of me wanting to give back in a way where I could save young people time. And so my entrepreneurial efforts that I tried, me and my wife started a water business. It didn't go too well. We had a clothing business. It didn't go too well. And I was at a point where I just couldn't figure it out. And then something interesting happened though. And actually, it's part and parcel of our story. My wife and I started refereeing, all right? Sounds small to people, but in refereeing, I got to be my own boss. I got to make my own schedule. I got to negotiate my own contracts. I could work as much or as little as I wanted. And the freedom I felt refereeing, I refereed baseball, softball, basketball, football, and volleyball. And prior to that, I was a police officer. So the freedom that I got from being a referee was different than anything I ever felt in my life. And I was like, one summer, my wife said she wanted to go on vacation to like Mexico. So I worked every day in June, long days in the sun, sweating, all that type of stuff, doing baseball games, tournaments, 12 hours a day. And I made enough money to take us on vacation to where she wanted to go. And I was like, there has to be a way to replicate this like all year round, not just in sports, but doing other things that you love. And it made me get interested in entrepreneurship. And I read Think and Grow Rich. And from that time to this time, like I read Think and Grow Rich like 2 or 3 times a year. Like it was so inspirational. And I was like, it dawned on me. I was like, why has no one ever introduced this book to me? Like this book for me was like a life changer. And I was like, why, how long has this book been in print? Since the 40s? Like, why has no one given me this book? So, yeah, so I mean, a lot of ups and downs. I was not a good student when I was in school per se. I was very smart. I was very smart when I was younger, but I got suspended in school a lot, fights, all that different type of stuff. I ended up getting expelled from school my junior year, but they couldn't turn the paperwork in time, so they had to bring me back. So they were like, listen, you leave us alone, we'll graduate you. We don't care about grades. We don't care about none of that. You leave us alone, we'll graduate you. But something interesting in my story, and I'll close with this point. When I was younger, I had an opportunity. I'll call it an opportunity. I think statute of limitations is up. I call it an opportunity. I had an opportunity to have a candy store in my locker at school. And when I had this candy store at my school, my teachers, the principal, the police officers who worked in school, the counselors, the therapists, everybody, they would all come to my locker to get discounted candy. And it was interesting because I was able to negotiate, work out deals. I was making like $60 a day selling candy. And I loved the freedom of it in high school. Like, hey, I'm actually making money. I love candy. I can now, I can afford my habit because I'm selling candy. And that was like my first run-in with entrepreneurship, but I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know what it was. I just liked the feeling. And that experience happened to me a few more times in life, up until the point where me and my wife started a product line. It grew from 2 products to 59 products. It became very successful. We opened a beauty supply store. We, with the beauty supply store, we had a second floor and the first floor where the store was at, and we would rent the second floor out. And then we started realizing we were only renting the second floor out on like Thursday, Fridays, Saturdays when people would like want to party and stuff like that. And I got tired of renting out to young people because they kept getting in trouble. So we were looking for a way that we could make money in our store, store. We didn't have a school yet, from Monday through Friday in the daytime. So my first thought was, well, let's start a school. So I went and researched what it takes to start a school, and it was like you need about $500,000 to $1 million. So I was like, no, we're not gonna do that. Scratch that idea. So we threw that out the window, and we started looking for other ideas. But the way God works is within the time span of throwing that idea out the window, within like a month time, my wife came to me and she was like, I met this lady who has a school. She only has 1 student, and it's very interesting. So I was like, well, how does she have a school with only 1 student? That doesn't make any sense. And she explained the model that she used to run her school. And this lady, the reason she only had 1 student was because this was her last student and she was closing her school down to go do something else. So my wife asked her, well, can you teach me what it is that you do with your school? Because we're thinking about doing a school, but we can't afford it. So she said, oh, you can afford it. And so when she told us what she was doing, we're like, oh, okay. Well, we can take that idea and maybe do a school, but we need to give it some sauce. We need to give it something to make it different from all the other schools. So we started thinking about, well, what could we actually teach and give that's valuable from our personal life that would benefit students the most. And from there, came up with the idea that every student would start a business. And from there, we were like, well, what if every student also published a book? And just using our life experiences, that's kind of the innovation that went into the school. And it just so happened to be like, the timing was so perfect. Like it had to be God, because I'm not smart enough. And the timing had to be perfect. Like we were above my beauty supply store. I don't know if you see, actually, we may have the footage on our school's website. We started above our beauty supply store on the second floor. And I told my wife, we're only gonna be here for one semester because we're gonna grow so big that we gotta go to a bigger location because we're gonna have too many students. And that's exactly what happened. And it's great that it happened that way because the city of Rockford found out that our school was there. And after the first semester, about a week or two, the city of Rockford showed up with code enforcement with about 5,000 sheets of paper of fines and violations that our school was gonna have to get corrected if we wanted to have school the next semester. But I let them know, like, hey, the school is no longer here. We outgrew the space. We're at a bigger space. Everything's passed with the State Board of Education, so we're good. And the school has thrived ever since then. So that's kind of like a little bit about me and how we got to this point. A little bit about my wife. She could do a little better job of herself, but that's a little bit about me and how we got to this point. So, and some of the story and the history of some of the challenges we faced with the school. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, ma'am.
Amazing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Amazing.
That's a story that needs to be told.
Yes.
Sharam, I'm so happy you're making this documentary. You know, we can commit to really amplifying that. That's the initiative of it. Just it shows what's possible in the way you're doing it. So that you're doing it is great, and that it can be shared as a story that others could be inspired by. It's really moving.
Thank you so much.
All right. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments, or do we have more time?
I think our next session starts at noon tomorrow, so we got plenty of time.
Yeah, you have plenty of time.
Something's in the chat. Something's in the chat. There's a comment in the chat. My brother tried to get in, but he couldn't. Nobody let him into the waiting room. I saw.
No, I did. No, I let him in. He's in. Yeah, he's in. He's in, but I don't know if he has a comment.
Is that Ernest?
Yeah, he taught
Ernest is here.
Yeah.
And I called him. Oh, he's back. Well, yeah. Well, that's the second time.
Yeah, he taught in the schools, and I clicked ask to unmute. So let's see if he does. Yeah, if Brother Ernest. Oh yeah, here he is. Okay. Yeah, he taught in the schools also. Go ahead, Brother Ernest.
Oh, okay. I only caught the last part of the brother's presentation, and that was what I heard was impressive. So I'm all on the board with what he's saying. In fact, knowing the things that are happening today for us, grown-ups and children, are going to be brand new and productive, more productive than any other time in history, because the consciousness of the people is rising so rapidly, and we're finding that I'm gonna say everything that we've been taught as children, as grown-ups, and it was backwards. Us to be entrepreneurship right now, I'm telling you, that's a big blessing. That's a huge blessing. We've always been taught, get an education, get a job, and then retire. You know, my God, that means you just came here to work.
Yeah.
No, no, we can do better than that. No,
Oh,
But
yeah.
and I read Think and Grow Rich some years ago. I mean, from cover to cover, and I just wasn't. I guess I wasn't ready for it. But I do appreciate the idea. Who was it? I'm trying to think of this fella's name. He's a real estate mogul.
Grant
And,
Cardone.
who was that?
Grant Cardone.
No, it wasn't not Grant Cardone. It was he's an older fellow, wear glasses. And
Robert Kiyosaki?
Kiyosaki, exactly. Powerful. I followed him for a long time. I call myself a person that bounces from one thing to another. Searcher. I'm a searcher, and I've been in many different organizations. I've been a Christian for a long time. I've been a Muslim for a long time, and right now I'd like not to be labeled. I'm a very free person, and if it's any way you think I can help this, that's my sister Joy, Mama Joy, right there. So just let me know, and I'll do what I can. I promise you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, Sir Ernest, my name is John Raymer, and I can appreciate wisdom when I hear it. And I want to share with you something that ties some pieces together that might be really helpful. I have the privilege to work with the indigenous people. And you're pointing to that maybe just the way we're thinking about things has really not been in our own best interest.
Right.
And I found it was so interesting. Near where I live, there's a museum for the Suquamish people. And they say that when the settlers, the colonizers arrived, they said, these people are uncivilized. They're not going to work every day. They're not sending their kids to schools. So they imposed this, thinking they were doing good. And they used to live, they would get up every day and do what needed to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived in a kinship way. And I so feel the pain of the imposition of our insanity that's led to this. In native world, they call it wetiko. It's a mind virus, a psychosis of the spirit. We've been swept along into a way of thinking that's mechanistic, creates values that doesn't really produce the good in our world. When you hear stories like what you're doing here, it's so from the heart. It's like Dr. King would talk about, just as it's love. So I just want to honor your wisdom and let you know. And one of the things earlier today with Jeremiah and his brothers, and we're talking about the pain there, I've also learned from the indigenous world that we don't have in our culture, the Western world, a way to empty, a way to heal, to sweat it out, dance it out, sing it out. So it gets all locked in. We become hard shells. And now what's happening here, and I'm so grateful to see it happening, is people are being vulnerable and opening up and talking about what really matters.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It was beautiful to hear you speak, brother. Thank you for your sharing your wisdom with me and for us.
Thank you.
Let love lead the way.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. I tell you, can you hear me? Am I still on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I've been more enthused about the women being in charge right now. And that's because of the leadership that men have shown me for the last 5,000 years. They lead by logic, and logic will get you. And I got this from Einstein. He said logic will take you to A, B, C, D, all the way to X, Y, Z. But imagination, and that's what women have more than men, or intuition, will take you through infinity. And that's where we want to go. That's where we want to go. And if we pay more attention to the way, I listened to a program, and my sister used to talk about my mother contacting her from New Orleans to Chicago, just a phone call and asking her what's wrong, because the intuition told her something was wrong with her. And it's in all of us. The women have it more than the men. We hardcore. We like logic. We like 2 + 2 is 4, and the end of it. But intuition, believe me, that's something we need to practice. Practice imagination. I'm still learning. I can't even have a good dream. I don't dream well. Oh no. I don't remember my dreams. Yeah. But no. If the woman took over quickly, I wouldn't have any problem with it. I'd be a obedient follower. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, just the other hand up there.
Well, this has been such an amazing presentation. I've so enjoyed this. Brother Henry, 1 month from today, I will turn 67 years old. And my first entrepreneurial job was selling penny candy in the back of the school bus out of a George Jetson lunchbox. And I absolutely loved listening to you tonight. And this has been such a pleasure being here today. Thank y'all so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's definitely been a great honor. And just anytime we get the opportunity to share our story and just share love with open hearts and open minds, that's, for us, that's why we do what we do. Is, the impact is the goal. The big goal is the impact. Everything else will trickle down from the impact. So it's just a great honor for us to be able to share our story on behalf of, all of the students and teachers and staff. Yeah, we're honored to be here. So.
Beautiful, beautiful.
All right. Okay, I'm going to
Well,
stop
John,
the
before
recording.
we end the live stream, do we want to tell folks about tomorrow and how they can find what's coming? Do you want to show the website?
I do. In fact, consider this an invitation to everybody. If you're not yet up in One World, meet us there. So here you go. This is a platform to keep us connected. One of the joys of this crazy world we're in is that we are connected like we've never been. And what we can do here, this is a space inside of One World where we're hosting all the events. And we just finished this event, so it's not showing here, but I can see the past events. This is just what happened today. Here we go. This one started. But looking at each of these events gives you a clue as where we're going. And Jeremiah, we're going to be back. This connection with the indigenous world is a key piece here. Women's voices, exactly. Youth. So there's a whole session here on Peace on Earth by 2030. about prophecies and how that's coming together, connecting throughout the Americas. Hereditary Chief Phil Lane will be there with David Gershon. Eric is here talking about the Peace Village Farms of Raymond. So each of these sessions are here, and it's part of, here, another one, Man Up, Talking the Beloved Community, Jeremiah's Greatest Day, the Writers' Right Collective.
The times
So,
that everyone is seeing are in Pacific Daylight
yes,
Standard Time.
good point. They'll adjust to your time zone. So when you see it, so if you're looking at this, it's because I'm on the West Coast that's showing that. And that's in this place called One World, where we're encouraging you to have a presence. Sign up, it's free. We're going to be working together throughout this 40 days of peace. And there's other opportunities here for us to get connected and for us to really think and act together like we haven't before. This is an impact hub. We're learning how to get to know ourselves and each other, declare these missions. It's all based on trust. So let me just show you an example. That stream we just did went out to many, many pages. We have an alliance of people who are trusting each other and letting them share onto their pages. We admin over 350 pages we're admins on. That's a simple little thing we could do to help each other. People want to reach more people, we can help you reach more people. We want to engage with those people when we reach them. We got an impact hub to do that. We can actually start to operate with new patterns of how we support each other. That's this impact hub that One World is about. Thank you, Becky, for reminding me to encourage everybody to, we're stretching this year. I call it dragon yoga. You know, this is the year of the dragon, and we're all gonna have to stretch a little bit. I feel it. The challenges are here and the opportunity is amazing. We're connected like we've never been. We have enough. We just haven't put it together. And I see that happening. So game on. This is the compassion game. This may be the most important compassion game we've ever played. Remember, you cannot lose the compassion games. The more people play, the more people win. So
John, tell us how the compassion games got started, since you got it's an exciting story in itself.
well, when we met the Dalai Lama in 2008, and that's when I met Phil Lane and got involved in the Indigenous world and all that, we started Compassionate Cities. This idea was compassion is a beautiful idea, not just for oneself, but to put into our institutions. Imagine any mayor thought of their budget as it's a compassion statement, because you've got to sort priorities, what's important to you. It's a moral document. So compassion could really be a wonderful thing in the city and the community. So we invited other cities around the world to join with Seattle. We're going to start a 10-year campaign to create a compassionate city. And I couldn't believe it. The people in Louisville responded. And the mayor there turned out to be such an amazing human being. And his team came out to Seattle, and we were so excited. Then they went home, and he writes me a letter. He says they're the most compassionate city in the world and will be so till proven otherwise. I couldn't believe it. So what do you mean you're the most? Here we are being kind and compassionate to you. And he said that they're so compassionate, they'll come out to Seattle to help us beat them. Oh, I said, wow, now we're going to really have to be more compassionate than we've ever been. I said, wouldn't this be great? And that was the year of the Hunger Games. I said, this is the antidote to the Hunger Games. And Jennifer Lawrence is from Louisville. And it was like, oh my God, this is so perfect. So we challenged and we've done this, and we've got cities around the world. And it's been millions and millions of people have played in schools and prisons. It's a beautiful thing. But I saw in the process how hard it really is for all of us to work together. I said, let's say there was a team of superstars, like a league. And that's what this alliance is that's building One World together. And you are in. It's us. This is who it turned out to be. All the right people show up. And we've been doing some of the most amazing, we're writing these tales of synergy from a magic canoe that is moving between worlds. That's the indigenous idea, that it's a vessel for traveling between worlds, from a world no longer to a world not yet. And we get to make that world with our creative imagination.
All right now.
That's what we're doing. So I don't know how it happened, but compassion's been so good to me. Wait till you meet my amazing wife, Summer Joy. And she and I are so blessed to have the alliances and relationships we have, like with you, Becky. Oh my gosh. And it was Peter who really made it possible for the Compassion Kid. He said, you should apply for a grant. I'm not smart enough. I wouldn't have done that. And he was right. I just do it because I believe in it. I'll do it because it's the right thing. That's how I grew up in Brooklyn. You do the right thing. So you're doing the right thing. And I know that. And let's pause so everybody gets some rest. Maybe some good music. Maybe we should close with some Jacob Collier. You guys know this amazing artist?
We should end the live stream first. Yeah, absolutely.
This guy's amazing.
Absolutely.
When he was 18 years old, he uploaded a video from his little room in London, North London. Quincy Jones called him the next day. Said, "Who are you?" He's really quite astounding. And he has this beautiful song, Little Blue. Should we play Little Blue?
Yes, I stopped the live stream now.
All right, let's just do this. Trust me, should we do the one with him and the kids, just with him and the guitar?
Oh, the
Or
one
should
of
we
the
do-
kids is really good too.
Yeah, let's do that one. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful.
since we're talking about the kids, about
Right,
kids.
right. So here he is. And I've never seen anyone play the guitar, and I'm a musician by training. I really did that for many years. And this guy plays guitar. And hold on. It's going to probably play an ad. Hang on. All right. Let me make sure I.
There was
turn it
no
on.
audio then,
Yeah, let me sure.
which was good.
Yeah. But here, you're going to have to hear a little of it. But our moment, we need something to carry us.